The coal seam gas rush is on, and the biggest in the business are going to build 40,000 wells that will transform rural Queensland forever. A vast spiderweb of industrial infrastructure will crisscross some of the state's prime farming lands. The impacts will be massive.
Coal seam gas! It's unsafe!
It's unsafe! The emergence of a new industry promising billions of dollars of revenue and thousands of new jobs could have been cause for national celebration. Instead, the battle lines have been drawn, and the country is gearing up to fight what some people are calling the greatest environmental battle in Australia's history. The remote southeast Queensland town of Tara is a deeply divided community. Residents living downtown are benefiting from a wealth of new jobs and investment brought into the area by the coal seam gas industry. While nearby landowners are now surrounded by gas wells, their property values have plummeted, and many claim to experience serious health problems.
One day, the kids were having a bath and they started screaming. And when Kathy pulled them out of the bath, they had a ring line at water level. Everything below the water level was red, like a chemical burn. Everything above the water was normal. Some while later, we found out, in fact, that a gas well had been fracked about 3 and a bit kilometres away from us at around that time.
The rapid growth of the gas fields near Tara have been driven by advances in the controversial technology known as fracking, which uses pressurized water, sand and a cocktail of chemicals to fracture underground coal seams and release the natural gas trapped inside. Brian's convinced the fracking of nearby gas wells has contaminated his underground water supply and exposed his family to toxic gas.
Our methane level's climbing. It's gone 1%, 2%, 3%.
9%, 14%, 18%, 30%, 51%. Lethal.
Our greatest concern is little Jace. He has developed neurological issues. He was a young child 20 metres from that bore tank. It really is unbelievable that this is happening in this country.
This is Brian's neighbour, Debbie Orr, a mother of 6 and a founder of the Gasfield Community Support Group. She's collecting evidence that she hopes will prove a pattern of sickness that began with the arrival of coal seam gas.
When the wind blows from that direction, we all get headaches and we get burning, itchy eyes and that. We started looking into what coal seam gas actually was and come across the health impacts, and that started checking all the boxes, you know. My son had experienced the headaches, he'd experienced the nosebleeds. The other young fella at the road, headaches, nosebleeds, skin rashes, the bleeding from the ears. You're a good helper. There's just so many families in this area and they've all got the same symptoms. People do not claim it's CSG related. We just don't know, you know, it's just, we can say that these impacts have only been since the CSG industries came to our area. Ready for sleep.
I don't take happy photos anymore. We take impacts.
And that's what it's come down to, taking photos of our kids when they're sick. No, that's just greed. People's health should never, ever be compromised over greed.
While the Queensland government and the gas industry are confident that the fracking process is safe, it has divided scientists and alarmed environmentalists. They're concerned about the vast amounts of water that fracking draws from underground and the unknown long-term impacts on the nation's aquifers. There are fears that if contaminants unleashed by the fracking process leak into subterranean water systems, they could pollute the Great Artesian Basin, the country's largest aquifer and the only reliable source of fresh water in much of inland Australia.
One of the big risks, of course, is groundwater. Now,
In order to allow the gas to flow, there needs to be a lot of water extracted from the coal. A lot of that water is actually generally very poor quality water. It's often saline, or have often heavy metals in it, whether it be sort of copper or arsenic or others sometimes.
There will be impacts in certain places, and those areas have been identified. But those impacts on the Great Artesian Basin are minimal because of the size of the Great Artesian Basin.
If, for example, you put a drop of poison in a bucket, it might only be a really small percentage of that bucket, but that actually still creates quite a significant problem. It only takes a small amount of things like heavy metals or organics or things to start seriously affecting water quality for drinking, for stock, and so on.
In terms of the recovery of the aquifers, certainly they will take a long period to recover. The modelling that's been done suggests that it could be anywhere 50 to 100 years is sort of the minimum sort of estimates, but in many cases we're actually seeing models that are predicting the system may take sort of 300, 400, 500 years before it fully recovers.
Thanks very much, Len, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Actually, I think I should start off by saying something along the lines of deeply concerned citizens of Australia. We really have our valley under siege. We have got AGL there, who have had approved 110 coal seam gas wells. We have already had some fracking of those wells, to my knowledge, and of course, at this stage we have Federal Minister Burke, who has got them filling 36 extra conditions, we think. We have also an existing mine who came there back in the early 90s. They were called Gloucester Coal. They've turned into a Chinese state-owned enterprise called Yancoal, and they want to go 24/7. Again, not happy about that. When they first came to us as a small company run by, I think it was Nobel Resources out of Hong Kong, we were told, now wait for this, we were told that we are getting a boutique mine. Don't you love that? It's like a boutique turd. You're going to get a boutique turd. And we're going to give you jobs. So in exchange for this boutique item, we would get some jobs. You can drive the water cart. Of course, the big money goes back out of not just the region, some of it sticks to the state government by way of royalties, but the majority goes back to the overseas investors. It's big money, big capital that takes out the wealth of the land.
Most of Wallandilly is within the Sydney water catchment. Nearby Lake Burragarang feeds into Warragamba Dam. Catchment protection is a sensitive but accepted way of life here. Locals accept that they are prohibited from bushwalking, four-wheel driving, horse riding or camping in the catchment. You can't breed pigs or drill water bores without an exhaustive permit process. They are distressed that coal seam gas exploration licences now apply over the catchment, with a real prospect, after recent and successful test drilling on private property at Oakdale, that multiple drill sites will soon be approved.
On a weekly basis, particularly lately, we are hearing out of Queensland where there are wells that are leaking methane kilometres from where they sunk the well. And the major problem, as I see it, is that it is not up to us as residents to prove or demonstrate to the government that this industry is unsafe. It is up to the government to prove to us that it is safe to come in here. And that is something that they have manifestly failed to do.
Wallandilly already has 84 exploratory and production gas wells, according to independent councillor Judy Hannon. Ms Hannon's an optometrist and a former member of the Liberal and National parties. She's been galvanised by her distrust of government and concern about regulatory capture.
There's not much that I'd be prepared to go to jail for, but coal seam gas is one of those things that I'd certainly line up with others and lock arms. We'd certainly try to keep people, if they come back out here, we'll have an organised effort to keep them off properties.
Wanaka Orchard's Ed Beale, who grows juicy peaches, plums, nectarines and apricots, is dependent on bore water for his irrigation systems. Aquifer protection through CSG mining cannot be guaranteed, he's been told. Any contamination would destroy 25 years of back-breaking work and his family's livelihood.
The state government and a major energy company are being accused of mining by stealth with a new coal seam gas well near Campbelltown. Locals who complain they're being kept awake by the noise say they were never told about it.
Down by the Nepean River at Menangle Park, something is going on. Big machines, men in hard hats, people who just don't want us there.
I'm here to advise you are trespassing.
It's a new coal seam gas well, the first production well approved by the O'Farrell government with no public fanfare.
It just went sort of bang, bang, bang.
Renata Farina lives 300 metres away, thought the local harness club was building something.
Well, it went all night long. It kept the whole family basically awake, 3, 4 in the morning, the constant noise.
Locals only discovered it was drilling when 7 News told them.
This is happening secretly. The residents of Campbelltown would have no idea that this is occurring.
Except for the noise 24/7. There's also the environmental impact. The well is just 40 metres from the Nepean River, at risk from fuel, chemicals and drilling water. But add to that the possible risk of contaminating the groundwater.
Residents in Sydney southwest say recent flooding has exposed a bubbling coal seam gas leak. The gas company says the bubbles are just air, nothing dangerous. But Campbelltown Council and the Environment Protection Agency have both launched investigations.
In a swollen Nepean River, the row over coal seam gas exploration is on the boil. It's claimed these bubbles contain toxic methane and have contaminated the water supply after this AGL coal seam gas pad at Menangle Park was flooded.
Whatever was in those drilling pits has now gone into the Nepean River.
This is, to me, the biggest issue facing this country. We are talking about public health. Now, I could go on forever documenting what that means to the people in the Hunter Valley, but already there are experts who say that children born there are underperforming academically as a result of what has happened by the ingestion of toxicity from mining in the Hunter Valley. Public health. We're talking about the massive diminution of the availability of water. We're talking about the contamination of water, and then, of course, all of this on prime agricultural land across Australia at a time when a former Prime Minister has talked about the importance of food security.
And show the state and federal governments that you've had enough. If you continue this on, you're in serious trouble. You really are. The wells that you have now, that's it. No more. You've got to take that stand. Otherwise you'll get in my situation and my land's unsellable, it's unlivable. It's over for us, but it's not over for you. Talk with your neighbours, talk with your friends, make it happen. Do not let these companies in. Badger your state government, badger your federal government, harass the companies.
I'm not sure what Macquarie Street were thinking they would see when they look out of their windows and into this crowd, but I'm telling you that what I see is mothers and fathers and women and men and families and country people and city people, all who have put their differences aside to come today to rally to protect our land and our water.
Australia's got too few areas that are fertile. We have a lot of desert and we mustn't destroy the arable land that we have.
Coal seam gas extraction. This, together with coal seam mining, has the potential to adversely affect groundwater systems over large parts of the state. The current New South Wales Government of Exploration licences for coal seam gas lists an area of 19 million hectares. Every litre of water you pump out of the ground reduces river flow by the same amount. In a small coal seam gas field such as at Gloucester, it will produce about 5,000 tonnes of salt every year. Should we as a society allow this process to run helter-skelter? Should we wait possibly, like with DDT, Agent Orange, asbestos, thalidomide, until something irreparable occurs? I think not. Before we leave a legacy for our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren to say to us, they did what?
They talk about coal and gas. Well, as a major resource, water is our most crucial resource by a long, long way. And if we don't protect our water, we're doomed.
I think coal seam gas mining will affect everyone in this country who eats. And that means you.